Hello everyone, my name is Kaixiang Zhuang. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the ISTBI Fudan University, working under the guidance of Dr. Denis Vatansavesh. Today I'm going to present my research study on the data-driven decomposition of personality traits. Let's begin with a brief introduction of the study background. One of the most renowned theories of personality is the five-factor model, also known as the Big Five personality traits, which includes neuroticism, extroversion, openness, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. These traits are derived from the factorization of personality questionnaires that are designed to assess patterns of everyday thought and behavior. Given its reliability and validity, the FFM is extensively employed in population neuroscience and the big data initiatives. Although the five-factor model was initially driven by the assumption that its five dimensions are mutually orthogonal, the data-driven studies are now raising certain doubts. Emerging evidence suggests that there exist higher-order meta traits beyond the big five traits, such as well-known stability and plasticity. Although such meta traits are suggested to explain the covariation for different aspects of the five dimensions, there is still debate regarding the most optimal higher-order personality model. The debate surrounding the personality trait models stems mainly from a few technical and conceptual issues. Traditional statistical methods have largely focused on obtaining the best fit for the model on specific datasets, making the model highly susceptible to weaving sample structures. Moreover, cross-validation techniques such as K-folds are rarely used to assess the generalizability of the models. Moreover, personality research has long been criticized for its perceived lack of a neurobiological foundation. For example, the existing models fail to explain the substantial heritability in neuroticism and openness. Interestingly, both of these traits are in turn associated with multiple psychiatric disorders and cognitive abilities. Similarly, we can also find evidence in supporting their shared neural basis, which is linked to brain functional connectivity features. Taken together, this evidence indicates that the covariation among the five personality traits may have a more specific neurobiological underpinning, thus explaining the covariation among a broader range of cognitive and clinical phenotypes. Based on these existing issues, we asked two main questions. First, what is the most optimal personality trait decomposition? Second, can data-driven personality decompositions help improve our understanding of population subtypes and neurocognitive profiles? To answer these questions, we developed a machine learning framework which included the orthogonal projective non-negative matrix factorization to reassess personality trait decompositions. OPNMF decomposes data into two matrices, a sparse and highly interpretable basis matrix with factors as columns that can be easily generalized to new data due to projective constraints, and a factor loading matrix indicating the summarized scores of individual participants along these factors. Next, we evaluated the stability and generalizability of the model within a cross-validation framework, and used this as the basis for selecting the most optimal model. And we also introduced a method for evaluating item-level stability, which allowed us to identify individual questionnaire items that may not be representative across different samples. We carried out the analysis in an openly available, large-scale global dataset with over 1 million respondents worldwide. The IBIB data was primarily utilized to conduct a re-evaluation of the personality trait decomposition. The diverse data resources provided by the IPIB, along with other large-scale datasets, have allowed us to examine the impact of additional variates, such as culture and demographic information. In addition, we also employed data from ACB in order to gain insights into the neurocognitive associations that underlie these personality traits. After identifying the most optimal personality trait decomposition, we then investigated how the unveiled personality trait decompositions could aid in elucidating population subtypes and their neurocognitive profiles. Here are our findings. We evaluated the stability and generalizability of the OP and MF decompositions across 2 to 5 factors using 4 distinct metrics, with each arrow indicating the direction of optimization for the model. As expected, the 5-factor model continues to perform well across all these metrics, while 3 and 4-factor models show low levels of stability and generalizability. Interestingly, our evaluation also highlighted a higher-order 2-factor model, which in certain evaluations outperformed the 5-factor model. Overall, our assessment not only confirmed the robustness of the 5-factor model, but also revealed a novel higher-order 2-factor model as the optimal decomposition of personality traits. We found that the 5-factor model reviewed in our study highly overlaps with the theoretical model. We can assess this by examining the consistency of item colors. However, the 2-factor model revealed 2 new higher-order personality meta traits that exhibit marked differences from those suggested in prior literature. While meta trait EAC accounted for the covariance of extroversion, agreeableness, and conscientiousness, meta trait NO accounted for the covariance of neuroticism and openness. And although most items displayed great stability, a few items located in the low coefficient range showed higher variability across the cross-validation steps. For example, the items enclosed in the box you can see here, this suggests that in some samples, certain openness items with social attributes may have a greater impact on the meta trait EAC, while the majority of openness items belong to NL. We repeated the analysis in several other datasets, and the results were consistent for both the 5-factor Big 5 trait model and the 2-factor meta trait model. And we can see that for the questionnaires with fewer items, the compatibility of this decomposition with the theoretical dimensions is almost perfect. Next, we investigated how the novel meta trait decomposition could aid in elucidating population subtypes and their neurocognitive profiles. Here, we utilized the newly discovered meta traits to construct a 2D meta trait space. We found that the geometric features within the meta trait space provide a stable description of the relationship between meta traits and the Big 5 traits, further revealing the underlying subtypes within the population. Particularly, our clustering results roughly divided participants into 2 subtypes with approximately equal amount of people along the diagonal line of the 2 meta traits. For the sake of convenience, we will refer to these 2 groups respectively as the high EAC and high NO. These results remain stable across all samples. Can this space be used to other aspects of behavior profiles? To address this question, we utilized data from the integrated ACP datasets, which provided extensive behavior profiles for participants. This figure illustrates the results of a categorical analysis in the ACP sample. Compared to participants of high EAC, high NO showed higher criticized intelligence. However, they also showed weaker positive and stronger negative emotions, as well as higher clinical symptoms of mental health disorders. Although our analysis integrated 3 datasets from the ACP, spanning from development to aging, this effect was consistently present in any independent sample, indicating that these differences are not influenced by age. This finding suggests that while NO is linked to better performance in memory-related cognitive processes, it's also associated with greater clinical symptoms. Finally, as a preliminary exploration, we attempt to identify the neural basis of the 2 meta traits. Given that the meta traits demonstrate relationships with multiple personality dimensions and behavior varies that extend beyond personality, we hypothesize that these meta traits may be associated with some latent features within the functional organization of the human brain. According to this assumption, we investigated the relationship between meta traits and the functional connectivity gradients. Here we used diffusion embedding To recover the low-dimensional latent features from high-dimensional connectivity data, each gradient captures differences in functional connectivity patterns between brain regions across various dimensions. Here we just focused on the top 10 principal components that explain the most variance. Especially, we focus on the range of each functional connectivity gradient, which is one of the most fundamental features for describing such gradients. A larger range suggests a more diverse set of functional connectivities, with regions of two extremes being more functionally segregated. In contrast, a smaller range could indicate a more homogeneous organization of the functional connectivity patterns, with regions of two extremes being more functionally integrated. We found that the different personality subtypes do show differences across the brain functional connectivity gradients. Following FDR correction, our analysis emphasized two dimensions in particular. Specifically, high NO group showed larger range on gradient 5, while the same group displayed smaller range on gradient 6. The gradient 5 primarily reflects the differences between dorsal attention and frontal parietal control networks. By using meta-analytic decoding, we were able to infer that brain regions situated at the opposite ends of these gradients are linked to distinct facts of executive control functions. So basically, the higher NO, the higher functional separation between these brain regions. On the contrary, the gradient 6 reflects the differences between the core areas of the default mode network and the areas related to language processing, such as middle temporal lobes and the inferior frontal lobes. In high NO group, the functional integration of these two networks were enhanced. In conclusion, beyond the traditional model, we reviewed an optimal decomposition of personality into big two metatraits that may potentially provide a novel perspective for investigations within personality neuroscience. Particularly, geometric features in 2D metatrait space pointed out both stable and meaningful personality subtypes with distinct neurocognitive profiles. In the future, we will have the opportunity to utilize the distance and angle information to review a more precise profiling for individuals located on this space. These metatraits may further foster integration of personality theories into interdisciplinary research on human behavior, cognition, and well-being. For example, it provides new avenues for investigating the shared genetic and neural basis of intelligence and mental disorders. That's all. Thanks to my mentor Dennis, our team members, and all our collaborators